Hat, sunglasses, Pepsi, notes, sources, thick skin, check. You already know. Let's go. Golden Blooded is a college football YouTube channel for entertainment. So make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into our next college football video. Bowl season, bowl season. Who loves bowl season? I know I do. And yes, we do have some blowouts, and there have already been some blowouts, but there have been some really good games so far as well. And we have plenty of bowls to go. But what have been the best bowls so far? Well, I picked out 5 bowls that really caught my eyes as far as being the best bowls so far. The first one is the Cure Bowl between number 25 UTSA and number 24 Troy. And Troy wins this bowl game 18-12. Now, the storyline with this one is Troy was down 12-0, and they came back from a massive 12-0 deficit to come back and beat UTSA 18-12. It was a good game, but think about this. Troy only had 153 total yards. How did they win this game? Well, UTSA kept turning the ball over and over and over and over. 5 total turnovers for UTSA doomed them in this football game. I think UTSA was the better team going into this matchup, but they just turned the ball way too much, and Troy barely capitalized and pulled off a squeaker of a win. Bit of a snooze fest, low-scoring game, but still close game, very entertaining. One of the best bowls I've seen so far. The next bowl that I want to talk about is the Bahamas Bowl. UAB beats Miami of Ohio 24-20. This one came down to the wire. And I'm not talking about a walk-off score, but down to the last couple of minutes because UAB was down by 3 points. And Jermaine Brown scores a 12-yard TD run with a minute and 33 left. So yeah, that was a pretty good ending to that bowl. Worth mentioning. The next bowl I want to talk about is the Lending Tree Bowl between Rice and Southern Miss. Southern Miss was actually down 24-17. But they scored 3 straight touchdowns in a row. They had a total of 550 offensive yards. So Rice had a chance to win this football game, but Southern Miss really turned it on there in the 4th quarter. The next good bowl was the New Mexico Bowl. This was a really good one. SMU versus BYU. BYU does pull off the win 24-23. SMU was down 24-10 going into the 4th. They scored twice, including a last-second touchdown. Well, really, it wasn't a last second. It was with 8 seconds left. And when they scored, they were down by 1 point. They decided to go for 2, and they failed. So they lose the game because they failed a 2-point conversion. And BYU holds on and beats SMU 24-23. That was a pretty good ending to that game. And finally, the last bowl I want to talk about as far as good bowls so far is the Frisco Bowl. This was between North Texas and Boise State. Boise State does pull off the victory 35-32. This was a back-and-forth game the entire game, including 2 2-point conversions. Who doesn't love a game with multiple 2-point conversions? What about the bowls remaining? Well, for this video, I just want to talk about this week's bowls. I want to focus on this week's bowls. The first one is the Myrtle Beach Bowl. It will be happening tomorrow. And I was supposed to go to that game, but something came up, so I'm not going to be able to go to that game. But I'll still be watching it. This one will be between Marshall, who finished 8-4, and UConn, who finished 6-6. I think the edge definitely goes to Marshall. They have an elite defense, number 7 as far as allowing points. And UConn really doesn't have anything to hang their hat on. They don't have anything great going on offense or defense, so I think Marshall will be all over UConn. This is a bit of a mismatch. Then on Tuesday, we have a couple of bowls. The first one is the famous Idaho Potato Bowl between Eastern Michigan, who finished 8-4, and San Jose State, who finished 7-4. Eastern Michigan really can't hang their hat on anything. But San Jose State, they have pretty good defense, number 24 as far as points allowed. But I think this will be a closer game than the Marshall-UConn game. This game might actually be worth watching. The next game on Tuesday is the Boca Raton Bowl between Liberty, who finished 8-4, and Toledo, who finished 8-5. Liberty is okay on both sides of the ball, but nothing spectacular. Toledo is pretty good on offense, number 39 as far as total points scored. But just like the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, I think this one will be worth watching. It's going to be a close game. A blowout would definitely surprise me. Jumping on to Wednesday, pretty good matchup here, the New Orleans Bowl. Western Kentucky, who finished 8-5, and South Alabama, a 10-win season. They finished 10-2. Both of these teams are pretty decent on both sides of the ball. Western Kentucky is 18th in scoring points, so they can put up points. But on defense, they're 43rd in allowing points, so pretty good defense as well. South Alabama is 41st in offense, so they can score some points, and they're 15th in points allowed. So I'd say the strength of Western Kentucky is offense, and the strength of South Alabama is the defense, but both teams are pretty good on both sides of the ball. This is going to be a spectacular bowl. I would definitely be watching, even though I don't care about either of these two teams. Should be a really good bowl. Jumping on to Thursday, the Armed Forces Bowl between Baylor, who finished 6-6, and Air Force, who finished 9-3. This is going to be a good offense versus a good defense. Baylor is 31st in points per game, and Air Force is 3rd in allowing points per game. So Air Force has an elite defense, but their offense is terrible. So if they allow Baylor to score, I'm going to say 20 points, then I think Air Force loses. But their defense is most capable of keeping Baylor under that 20-point mark. So that's what you need to watch out for in the Armed Forces Bowl. Can Baylor put up at least 20 points on Air Force? If they can do that, I think they win. Moving on to Friday, we have 2 bowls. First up, the Independence Bowl. This is going to be between Louisiana, who finished 6-6, and Houston, who finished 7-5. Once again, this is going to be a good defense versus a good offense. Louisiana has the better defense, ranked 37th in allowing points per game. But Houston is 13th on offense. That's no surprise there because their head coach is Dana Holgorsen. But Houston has a really, really bad defense. I think they're like 119th as far as allowing points per game. So this is going to be a good offense versus a good defense. And we'll see which side of the ball wins this football game. The other game on Friday is going to be between Wake Forest and Missouri in the Gasparilla Bowl. Wake Forest finished the season 7-5. Missouri finished 6-6. Missouri, not much to hang their hat on. They have a decent defense. I think they're like 59th in allowing points per game. But Wake Forest has a pretty good offense. They're 15th in points per game. So if Wake Forest can put up a ton of points on Missouri, they should win this comfortably. But Missouri has shown that if their defense shows up, they definitely have a chance to beat Wake Forest. And surprisingly, Wake Forest is only a 1-point favorite. Maybe there's some opt-outs that I don't know about on the offensive side of the ball for Wake Forest. And then finally, Saturday, the Hawaii Bowl between Middle Tennessee, who finished 7-5, and San Diego State, who finished 7-5. Middle Tennessee, not really that good of a football team, but somehow they got 7-5. And for San Diego State, they definitely rely on their defense. They're number 22 as far as allowing points per game. So as long as San Diego State's defense shows up, they should be fine and handle Middle Tennessee fairly easily. That could turn into a blowout. Y'all let me know in the comment section what you think about the bowl season so far, and I know there were some blowouts, including Louisville blowing out Cincinnati and Oregon State blowing out Florida. But there have been some good bowls. And also let me know what bowls are you looking forward to the most during this next week of bowl season. And remember, we have plenty more bowls after this week. That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.